Hi, family. Welcome to episode 28 of my enrolled agent career. I'm your host, Timalyn Bowens, and I am America's favorite EA, which is absolutely relative today because in today's episode, or I guess I should say tonight's episode, we are going to be talking all about marketing. Okay. Now, online, you probably get DMs all the time, emails as well, from people who are reaching out to help you with your SEO, to get more eyeballs on what you're doing, to help you learn how to use LinkedIn to make sure you get more eyeballs, or Facebook or YouTube ads, all those different things. All right. That's not what tonight's episode is going to be about directly. We're going to talk about the actual foundation that needs to be built to make sure that your marketing is successful. And I'm not somebody who took a class on LinkedIn or Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, Google, and all of those things. And now I'm trying to teach you what I learned in a textbook. I started Bowens Tax Solutions as Bowens Tax and Bookkeeping Solutions back in 2016. And as you can see, it's 2026 and my firm is still standing. My firm is actually recognized by the marketing and branding that I've done. I'm able to bring in clients each month from marketing strategies that I implemented over 2 years ago. Those are the types of things that I want to talk to you about tonight to make sure that you understand the difference between your marketing and your branding, and that you're actually able to create a strategy that will move the message of your business forward, not just to get eyeballs and more attention, but to actually make sure that you are getting clients from your marketing efforts so that it's not all in vain. Okay? Let's see here. So, first things first, as I mentioned, marketing and branding. The reason I have on my hat tonight, I always have on the shirt, is to give you an example of what branding is. Your branding is what makes you recognizable to the public, whether it's your prospects, potential referral partners, friends, family. That is who you are at the core. So, with this, all the Timberland Bowens gear, you can see it at the bottom. I'm Timberland Bowens, America's favorite EA. But that branding is fine, it's okay. But if people don't understand what that means, it doesn't make any sense. So when people think of the name Timbaland and they think of America's favorite EA, I want them to think of somebody who is going to educate them on their tax issues, or help them avoid their tax issue through educating them, right? And I shouldn't have said avoid their tax issue, avoid potential tax issues, right? I want them to think of somebody who works in the realm of tax relief, whether that's compliance work, or if they're like, hey, if my mother had a tax issue, who would I call? Timalyn. That is all part of my branding and is very intentional. The reason I have on a t-shirt and a hat, and that's part of my branding, is because at my core, while being an educator, I also want the taxpayer to feel that I am approachable. So, yes, are there days where I'll be dressed up and I'll have on my pearls and a dress? Absolutely. But in most of my marketing, you won't see me like that because my brand is that I'm an educator and approachable by any taxpayer. Okay. Now, when we switch over to the marketing, how did I get America's favorite EA out as a brand? How did I make that something that people recognize to be like, if I have a tax problem, I need America's favorite EA. If I'm trying to help taxpayers with tax problems, I need America's favorite EA. There was a specific marketing strategy that was used. And to be honest with you, all of your marketing is going to take either time or money. When you are first starting out, you have to put in the time. You can't pay somebody to do everything because they're not going to understand who you are at your core. They're not going to necessarily understand your service offerings and the transformative experience that working with you brings. Okay. So even if you found somebody who is super nice on LinkedIn, they're in your DMs and they're like, hey, I help accounting and CPA firms do XYZ, there's still a lot of paperwork and intake that you're going to have to do to let them know what your messaging is. You're still going to have to create the content for them to put out and do everything. That's why I always recommend, if you're starting out, you need to do your marketing yourself so you can figure out what's going to actually work before you pay somebody else, which would essentially be like starting a marketing fire and then adding fuel to that fire, right? You start the fire yourself and then you add the fuel, which would be the paid marketing, like the ads or a marketer. So, in the previous episode, we talked about service offerings. You were supposed to do the homework and let me know in the comments what your passion was. I'm sorry, your purpose, the other P word. Let me know what your purpose is. When you create your service offerings, once you realize the relief that you provide for clients, prospects, future taxpayers, because I can tell you now, my favorite clients probably aren't even old enough to do a tax return right now. I already know that I have a mission to educate future taxpayers that may not even be born yet. With that, you could probably pick that up from my branding. For you, we have to see what's the purpose, what is the service offering, and then I can give you steps to take now that we have a goal set. We have your time managed so we know how much time you're going to spend on marketing, and we have the service offering. And if you don't have those things yet, go listen to the past 3 episodes, right? But with marketing, we are going to start with that goal. What is the goal that we want to accomplish with the marketing? So for you, maybe it is to get more eyeballs. I would urge you to niche that in a little bit and make sure that the eyeballs that you get are eyeballs that make sense, because all impressions, all engagement is not good if it's people that are engaging but don't need the service that you are offering. For example, everyone needs tax preparation if they have any income, right? And of course, there are exceptions to that rule. So don't start going down a rabbit hole there. Not everybody is going to have an IRS issue. Not everybody who has an IRS issue is going to be your ideal client. So once we have the goal, is this for eyeballs? Is this for engagement? Is this just so people know who I am? Or do I actually want to get clients from this marketing strategy? Once we've determined that, we want to take a look at what do we want to see convert from the goal that we get. Because some of you are like, yeah, I've been doing marketing, it's not working. And you're just posting stuff that people will engage with on social media, but nothing else. You have no call to action. You have nothing that sets you apart as an expert. You're not telling them that you can solve their tax problem. You're taking the copy and paste kit that everybody else has and talking about fuel credits, talking about earned income credits, and nothing about tax representation. That's why your marketing is not working, because you're not telling people who you are, what you do, how you serve them, and that it's okay for them to approach you. All right. So let's say, for example, we want to do a marketing campaign and we would like to, uh, let's say that we want to get 10 clients who need installment agreements. Okay, so not an OIC, not currently not collectible, not partial pay installment agreement. These people have tax debt that they could pay over time comfortably, they just can't pay it in full today. So, with that specific goal in mind, now we can look and say, okay, I know I can do this. What is it going to require? First, you need to make sure that you understand how to actually put together an installment agreement, right? And just like I told you in last week's episode, I'll put the link to the course that I just taught live about installment agreements. It'll walk you through guaranteed installment agreements, partial pay, direct debit, tiered, regular, the whole kit and caboodle, because 90% of taxpayers are going to qualify for that. Okay. So also keep in mind that, hey, if I need 10 people, that's the goal that I have. I want to do that. Let's say you want to do that over 2 months. Okay. So 60 days. We're looking to do installment agreements that with 10 people, that roughly would be about $50,000. Okay. So with that, we need to take our goal that we have. We've now put a number to it. So we're going to make $50,000 in 60 days by getting 10 taxpayers who need installment agreements. Now, if we want to make it even more specific, because we do, in order for the marketing to work better, we could look at an industry, we could look at a type of mindset, or we could look at a certain demographic of people. All right. We just have to make sure that when our marketing message is going out, that it's something that's going to resonate with a specific group of people so they'll actually come in. For me, in my firm, I market to first generation entrepreneurs who owe the IRS 6 figures or more. What I have also found that attracts is people who are some of the first to make money in their families, and they usually end up paying for, they're the kind of the financial savior. If somebody has an issue, hey, call that cousin. If somebody can't make rent, call that cousin, call that daughter. I don't know what it is in my marketing yet. I'd have to go back and see. But for one side of my family, I'm that person. So I always let you guys know as well, when you're marketing, it's easier to market, whether it's intentional or not, to people that you relate to. When I'm getting referral partners with clients, I always try to work with people that I would talk to in real life, because then it doesn't feel like a strain to have conversations with them. When your clients feel that they can connect with you, that's when they're willing to be more vulnerable for you to help with the situation. So, again, going back to that, my grandfather had a shoe shine shop. My dad is an entrepreneur now, but knowing the struggles of family members, being the first in my family to have this type of business, I have a lot in common with first generation entrepreneurs. Thank God, not the over 6 figure tax debt, but a lot of other things. So I know what keeps them up at night. I know what they're worried about with their families and with their businesses. So for you, if you're working with a certain industry or a mindset or demographic of people, you have to understand what keeps them up at night. What are their biggest concerns about their business or their finances or their retirement, their savings? Because you are not trying to sell them an installment agreement. You are trying to sell them peace of mind. You are trying to sell them getting off of the couch and sleeping in the same room as their spouse again. You are trying to sell them being able to help their child pay for college. You are trying to sell them a desire that they have that the IRS debt is now in the way of. Okay. So we have the goal, we have the $50,000. We're going to do that with 10 clients. So if we're doing a transcript investigation for $1,500, right? That leaves us room in there. Maybe they have a back tax return or two. And then maybe we have a streamline agreement or a partial pay installment agreement. All right. I don't know what your pricing looks like. I'm going to say with the transcript investigation, which is the first step, it should not be less than $1,500. Okay. So now that we have that 3,500 in there, this could be somebody who owes the IRS 50,000, but maybe they need to catch up on tax returns. It could be somebody who owes 100,000 and they have all tax returns filed. I don't know, but I know with my pricing, either one of those, I could still get up to the $5,000. Now, we're going to talk about pricing next week, so don't get caught up there. All right. With this, we can't talk to only 10 people in order to get 10 clients. Now, as time goes on and you get better, maybe you can, but if you're just starting out, that is not realistic at all. The first thing that we want to make sure that we do with our marketing, whatever we're putting out, we need to have our messaging clear. So if we have a desire for a certain type of client, all of our marketing should be to sell whatever we're trying to sell to that person. All of our marketing should be to make that type of person have peace of mind when they hear, read, or see what we're putting out. Which, by the way, marketing isn't just online. It can help move things faster, but if you aren't comfortable being online first, you can take these same steps and apply them to in-person things, because if you're in business, you're always on marketing. You should always be on marketing. People should know what you do. People don't know what an enrolled agent is, though, and I have to explain it every time. Perfect. That gives you the opportunity to practice and look at people's faces as you share what you do. See if they look confused. See if they're like, oh, that's interesting. Pay attention to those types of things to fine tune your messaging so that people will just get it the first time you tell them. If you start with enrolled agent, depending on the audience you have, they're not going to just get it. You have to get something to make them bite so that you have the opportunity to share what it is that you do. So, for example, let's say that you are doing this online and you're doing it in person. We have 60 days. I will say, let's say you need 50 leads to make this happen. And don't clutch your pearls. When I say 50 leads, I'm not saying, hey, you need to have 50 meetings this month in order to get 10 clients, or 50 meetings over the 60 days to get 10 clients. That's not what I'm saying at all. What you need is for 50 people to opt in and say, you know what? That Timalyn girl, that America's favorite EA that owns Bowens Tax Solutions, she seems to know what she's talking about. I want to go ahead and get more information and be on her email list. So I'm going to opt in to giving her my name and phone number and email address. You know what? That Timalyn that I met at that networking event, I realized that I don't need tax help, but my mom has been dealing with this for like 2 years and we really need to get it taken care of. I'm going to set up a call with her and give her my name, email, and number so we can do that. A lead is someone who opts in to receiving information from you. Now, with tax representation, you have to think about the vulnerability it takes to hire somebody to take care of your finances. They don't always immediately convert. Our goal here is to have them convert, but if you are meeting people in person, if you're meeting people online, we still have to track the people that we're coming in contact with and who's opting in to actually receive information from us. So even if you are not really like a big social media presence, you should still be online in the capacity that people can Google you and find you. Now, if you don't have a website yet, that's cool. I still recommend that you have a professional email address and that you have some type of booking site. I personally use Acuity. You can use Calendly. I think I've seen like TidyCal out. If you use Microsoft, they now have, or not now, they have Microsoft Bookings. I believe the Google Suite has something. You need something that helps take you out of the process where people can book a call. If you don't have a website, you need that minimum and also some type of way to have out in the world that you're expert. Now, check this out. LinkedIn is good for um, popping up high on Google. So before I had my website, was it before? Maybe along with, I would write articles on LinkedIn and make posts about the articles that I had written. Not saying, hey, I wrote an article, but I would take sound bites, if you would, from the article and make it a LinkedIn post. What did that do? When I went to networking events, let's say I get 15 business cards, right? And everybody's like, hey, yeah, I'd love to set up a meeting, talk about what you do. If I have 15 business cards and people are going to go look me up, if LinkedIn is popping up and I'm talking about, hey, I just helped somebody with $50,000. Hey, did you know you may not qualify for an offer and compromise, but 90% of taxpayers qualify for an installment agreement? How about you? If they see those types of things, now their mindset is, oh, she seemed cool in person, but she really does know what she's talking about. And I know somebody that has that issue. I want to make sure that I talk to her about that when we get on the phone. Having that business card gives you the opportunity, and you may have to get out of your comfort zone, but to reach out to that person and say, hey, would love to set up a 15-minute meeting with you, 30-minute meeting, if that's more your thing, just to make sure I understand what you do for business and to see if there are people within your network who are having issues with the IRS. These are some of the services I offer. Would you like to meet on Monday at 2 o'clock or Tuesday at 3? Now, that's what you would do if you don't have a booking link yet. If you do have a booking link, you would say, hey, I have availability on Monday or Tuesday. Do you have a booking link that I can book the call on, or would you prefer that I book on yours? In there, we have a lead who could potentially give us 10 other leads. When you are going to in-person networking events, you need to understand the demographic of who's there to make sure that it makes sense and you're not just wasting time having a good time. You want to be intentional and connect with people who would potentially lead you to your future client. I love you guys. I promise I do. But I don't want to always go to networking events with other accountants. What are you going to do for me to help me build and grow? Now, don't get me wrong. Community is important, having resources, but unless I know you, I'm not going to do any type of marketing with you. We're probably going after the same type of client, right? So you all are taking back the work that you're putting out because then you network with other accountants and you add other accountants and stuff and enrolled agents on your LinkedIn. So who's seeing your information? Which, by the way, I looked at 2025. I think 30% of my business came from referrals. A lot of those referrals were CPAs, but I'm very intentional with when I connect with CPAs or enrolled agents. It's enrolled agents who may be scared of doing rep work themselves, or it's CPAs who don't want to call the IRS at all. That's me being intentional and making sure that I stay top of mind during tax season, because when they have that client with the issue, guess who they're going to call? They're going to remember the branding. And because I'm consistently marketing and putting stuff out there, I stay top of mind. Now, again, you don't want to be on social media, that's cool, but your in-person stuff, you need to develop some type of newsletter or something like that. So these people are still seeing you, they're still seeing your information, and you're hooking them in where they're like, okay, I know this person, I'm not sure I like them yet or if I can trust them. But the more information that you give them, not information overload, information about quick, simple solutions that would still overwhelm them, but you're the expert to handle, that will help you with building that know, like, trust to get them to book the call. You can't have an email list that you email once every 8 weeks and then be like, well, my email marketing's not working. It probably would, you're not working. And that's the issue. Now, if we convert this over to online, 50 people connecting with you on LinkedIn or Facebook is not 50 leads. 50 people liking your YouTube video is not 50 leads. Okay. Again, a lead is somebody that's opting in to learning from you, opting in to trusting that you are the expert. Okay. So the content is good, but you should be, again, speaking to the mindset of that person. What is the desire that they have that the IRS debt is getting in the way of? When people engage, you follow up with that engagement. Oh, Timalyn, thank you so much for liking the post. Is this something that you need help with? If they say no, cool beans. Tell them thanks for the like. If they say yes, then hey, not to be too forward or anything, but would you like to book a call so that we can talk about your situation? If you're talking about installment agreements, you talk, again, I keep harping on this, 90% of taxpayers qualify for the installment agreement, but nobody is selling that. But I've had people pay me three, five, $7,000 in full because they wanted the peace of mind to be able to pay over 3 years, because they wanted the peace of mind to not have to pay for it all up front and to have some wiggle and breathing room. If I can do it, you can do it. If you're an enrolled agent, I'm an enrolled agent. We both walk under the same authority under Circular 230. People want peace. People don't want to deal with the IRS. Everybody's not going to be like, oh, well, I don't trust you because you can't do an offer in compromise. No, you educate them on what they'll qualify for and what they won't qualify for, and then you assist them in that. My marketing is very clear. Offering compromise is not the first thing that we're going to go for. So if you keep getting people that are like, well, you can't do an offering compromise, well, yeah, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want any help. What's your marketing saying? A lot of you that I'm talking to are saying this isn't working, but you've done it 5 times. You have the goal to make $50,000, and that's going to take 10 clients, but you've only talked to 15. The way the numbers work, especially if you're starting out, that's just not going to convert. So when we look at the goal setting, again, we have $50,000, we have 10 clients, we need 50 leads. Out of your 50 leads, maybe half of them will be qualified. And them being qualified isn't going to necessarily be on them. It's going to be up to you. Because if you're talking about, if you have a tax problem that's $10,000, call me, whatever your call to action is. If you're marketing to people who owe $10,000, but they don't have any back taxes to file, you're probably not going to get to the $50,000. You need to raise the threshold, or you need to target people who haven't filed in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because then that's when we can get to the money, because they need to pay you to file for 5 years. So even if you're on the low end and you're charging $500 a return, that's $2,500. We had the transcript investigation. That was another $1,500. So now we're at $4,000, right? There's my math not right. Yes, we're at 4,000. So even if it is a streamlined agreement, that 1,000 would be for that, and you've made $5,000. Again, even if you were on the low end, $500 a return, if you have to file 5 years of returns, it's $2,500. We had the transcript investigation, which you need to do anyway. That's 4,000, and then the streamline agreement for 1,000. It is very doable. You have to make sure that your messaging is clear, and then when your messaging is clear, be consistent in your messaging, how you show up in person, how you show up online, because remember, that's all a part of marketing because you're always on as a business owner. That's part of your branding. What are you recognized for? Because some of you all may have already ruined yourself because you've been trying to nitpick and get all the earned income credit. And then you turn around and say you help people that owe $500,000 to the IRS. The math's not mathing. What comes out of your mouth, what comes off of your fingers on the keyboard, it has to be consistent so that when people see you, they recognize you for something, right? For who you are at your core. So, again, let's say that we are going for people who need to file back taxes. Then your messaging needs to say that. So you're not saying the exact same thing every day. You talk about the fear and anxiety that they would have because they haven't taken care of the tax issue. You talk about the things that they can't do in life because they haven't taken care of the tax issue. If they owe over $50,000, hey, the IRS can revoke that passport. What happens if they owe over 10? What happens if they owe over 25? What happens if they owe over 100,000? Now, if you don't know the answer to those questions, you need to go educate yourself on the implications of not paying tax debt when it reaches a certain amount. Don't feel bad if you don't already know. Okay? Because like I say, you have the EA license, maybe you're a CPA listening, tax attorney. You have a license, all right? You have the authority to help, but until you actually do it, until you actually educate yourself, you are going to be sitting behind a wall looking around the corner because you don't have the confidence to actually market because you don't know what you can actually do. Okay? So, a lot of you here have done taxes before. Can you do 5 years worth of taxes? Can you go brush up on the tax law from the COVID years and all the crazy? That would be 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. All post COVID, all post TCJA. Could you do those 5 tax returns for $2,500? Could you do that transcript investigation? If you can't do a streamlined installment agreement, I'm going to plug it again. The link to purchase the class is down below. You just have to get clear in your marketing and your messaging to let that person who's scared to death of opening an IRS envelope know, hey, here I am. I can file back tax returns. Hey, here I am. I can be a POA for the IRS. Hey, here I am. I can do a transcript investigation to see if once we get all this filed, you have any penalties that we could get abated, which simply means removed or forgiven. They're out here looking for you, but you're not standing out with your marketing. So, with this, I just told you how easy it is to get the 5,000 with one person, right? Because it could be a full pay installment agreement for somebody who owes over 100,000. You're still going to be around $4,500, $5,000, right? Which, if you were in the installment agreement class, you know is very straightforward and simple. No, you can't do it online because it's over 50,000, but it's still very straightforward and simple. But if you don't know how to reach these people, you're like, well, where should I go to meet them? Well, What should I say to them? I can't tell you what to say and do for every industry. I'm giving you the plug and play. You have to know their pain points. I don't know everybody's pain points. I've mastered understanding my ideal client and what keeps them up at night. What is that for you? It's not that the marketing won't work. You have to work. You have to be consistent. You have to show up for you and your clients, whether again that's in person, online, if it's a combination of the two. So, realistically, with marketing, I gave you the example of the time management. I would say spend a minimum of 15% of your designated work week for marketing. For you right now, you need to make sure that you understand the pain points of your ideal client. You need to make sure that you understand installment agreements, then take a look at the offer and compromise, then take a look at currently not collectible, then take a look at bankruptcy, right? And I have episodes on tax relief with Timalyn Bowens that you can check out about the offer and compromise. I talk about doubt as to collectability. There's an episode on doubt as to liability, and I'll probably do one soon on ETA, right? Good resources to have, but if you don't have the basics down with how to do a transcript investigation, how to do an installment agreement, that's why your marketing also isn't going well, because you know that you don't know what you're doing to serve people. All right. So let's get clear about what our goal is. Let's get clear about who we're serving, how we're serving them, how we're incorporating that into our goal. Because look, I told you all that are in my community and on my email list how much money I'm going to gross this year. I have intentionally focused on doing people's taxes who haven't filed in multiple years. The example that I gave you literally is what I'm doing right now, except it's closer to 65K a month. Literally what I'm doing right now. I've honed in on a certain demographic of first generation entrepreneurs who need to file back taxes. My messaging is clear. I already have the brand. When they find me, they know what I'm about because it's all available, whether it's in person or online. Again, I'm giving you the plug and play. What's their pain point? What keeps them up at night? You have to be consistent. Don't start talking about child tax credits when your ideal client doesn't have children or their children are adults. That doesn't make sense. You're sending the message that you really can't help them, or that you don't know what you're doing, or that you're scattered brain. Don't do that. We need our goal. We need to understand the money and the messaging. Then we reverse engineer that to see how many people we need to actually reach. In this example, we said we need 50 leads in the course of 60 days. Those are people who are opting into getting information from you. Half of those folks will probably be qualified. So that takes us down to 25, right? And then we need about 20, maybe all 25 of them to book the call. So with you, if it's not automated, which at this point it's probably not, when they opt into that, you send a personal message saying, hey, Timalyn, I saw that you joined my email list. This email list is for people who have yada, yada, yada problem. If you're up at night because ABC, XYZ, I'd love to invite you to a complimentary 15-minute call to see how I could potentially help you with your tax issue. That direct outreach is also going to help you, especially if somebody has already opted in to hearing and learning from you. But here's the mistake people make. They're like, okay, I need 50 leads. I need 50 people on this email list. I'm going to go and everybody I know, I'm just going to put them on the email list. Everybody you know is not qualified. Now, there are people that you do know that very much are. So you should always let friends, family, cousins, coworkers, etc., know what you do. And yes, I said coworkers because some of you guys are still working at other places of employment. Now, I'm not saying the snitches, but former coworkers. All the CPAs I used to work with, they know what I do. And guess what? They send me referrals. The people that I used to work camps with when I was in college, that I used to work at Air Apostle with when I was in high school, they all know what I do. And with the exception of Air Apostle, every place I worked at has sent me referrals. But that wouldn't be possible if I didn't let people know what I do. People at church know what I do to a certain extent. People at other churches that I've gone to know what I do to a certain extent. Guess what? Almost all of those churches know. I've made money from all of those churches, not the church body itself, but from letting people at those churches know what I do. I've hosted webinars, seminars, gotten people's information, touched their hands. Nice to meet you. This led to referral partners and actual prospects, but it took me understanding the goal that I wanted to accomplish, reverse engineering, looking at how many people I need to talk to actually get folks to convert. And then you can get stuff automated, but you got to figure out what works first. Doing that direct outreach with people who connected with me helped me to tweak things to learn what should be automated because I have a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work. There's no shortcut to success. There's no shortcut to marketing and marketing well. You have to put the reps in. And if you listen to the examples that I gave where I said, okay, $50,000, 50 leads, that probably shook a lot of you because you realize you're not putting in the work to get 50 leads. 50 impressions is not 50 leads. You might fall out of your chair if I tell you how many eyes you need to get in front of and how much engagement you need to get the 50 people on the email list. But here's the thing. You can do it. I know you can do it because, again, if I can do it, you can do it. And I believe in you and that you can do it. Now, this episode's been a little bit longer than usual for our marketing. My challenge to you, just like every other episode, you have homework. Make sure that you're being honest with yourself about the marketing that you've attempted and what's worked and what hasn't worked. Are you actually putting in the effort to doing real marketing to strategically get people in your door? Or are you just putting information out there to check the box and say that you posted on social media? Because there's a huge difference, right? Then I want you to set a goal. Set a goal for the month of July. This is how much revenue I want to make. Now, how many clients do you need to serve to make that? What service offering at what price point does it need to be to hit that revenue goal? I gave you an example with low-end tax prep and an investigation and streamline agreement. It's about $5,000. Look at your pricing. Look at your service offerings and determine, what do I need to sell to hit this income goal? Now we can take a look at how many leads you need, how many people you actually need to get on the phone, and how many people you need to convert. Okay? The goal, the service offering with price, how many leads we need, how many people you need on the phone, how many people to convert. All right? Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I want you to go ahead and get started on that. But I also want to take this time to invite you to the second EA Firm Bootcamp. And I'm more excited this year than I was last year because I'm not going to be alone from the floor. This year, we are going to start out with one of my friends, Lawrence Taylor. He is a financial advisor, and he's going to share with us about unlocking the wealth in your business. As business owners, we take care of everybody else, and sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. But what do we have in our business that we can use to build generational wealth? What do we have that we can look towards for retirement, right? Because we've invested everything into this business. So he's going to do a session on that. Then we're going to have attorney Vincent Broadbeck. He's going to be there to share with us about tax planning and looking at entity structures. I always tell you guys, I don't set businesses up because that's a legal function, not actually a function that is, it has tax implications, but it's not a tax function in and of itself. So Vincent's subject will actually be, we'll be offering 1 hour of continuing education with that. Next, we're going to break for lunch and come back for a short session to talk with my Paychecks Connect, Andrew Mullins, about their payroll service offerings and how you can partner with them if you don't want to do the payroll yourself, right? Lunch is provided. No CE for that. But coming back from lunch, we'll hear from my tax sister, home biz tax lady, Lysandra Everett, with a federal tax update, which is going to be an hour of continuing education. And then to finish off that Friday, we're going to have Mark Dombrowski, and he is going to be going through 2 CE hours worth of tax representation. So onboarding the client and seeing what they qualify for. Now, that's a lot for a Friday, but after that, we're going to actually head out to Captain's Quarters, which we did last year, which is, I don't want to say a yacht club, but there are yachts out there. It's on the river here in Louisville, and enjoy a nice evening and dinner that's on me for attendees of the boot camp. Okay. Now, I don't know about this year doing spouses and everything like I did last year, but they're always welcome to come, but they'll probably be pay on their own for this year. And then Saturday morning, to wrap it all up, I will be on the floor at that time for 3 hours to cover marketing. And we'll talk more about what I discussed in this episode, but in more depth, so that when you leave, you actually have a 12-week marketing plan that you can take back home with you to begin implementing immediately. Okay. To get results, to hone in on the numbers. This is what I need to do. This is my messaging. I need to get this many leads in. I need to talk to this many people to convert. And then we really can't blame the marketing anymore, because you got to make sure, is the marketing working or are you not working? Right. So if you were interested in that, the link below, or the link is below, for you to go ahead and register for the boot camp. As of right now, I do believe we are still in early bird registration, which is $397. And I believe after July, go look at the fine print. I think it might be June. After July, prices will go up to $450. So make sure you get your ticket soon. All right. I will see you all next week, where we're going to wrap this whole series up with pricing, and hopefully you'll be able to take all this and put it to work. All right. So I'll see you guys next week in episode 29.